Want to share with you guys what is that, Gia? I had a dream last night. Before we start, I would like to remind you guys to rate, review, comment, and subscribe in any platform, whatever you want and whatever you wish. We'd love to hear from you guys. I had a dream and I wanted to share with you guys. I wanted to explain to you what it made me feel. I wanted take you to the path of the realization that me, Gia, got when I had this dream. And the dream was it took me a while to understand it, but it means a lot of things that it helped me realize the path that I've been on. It helped me realize all the things that I have endured in my life. And it was a message from God. And that's how I understood it. So in the dream, I would say it was kind of like if I was in Africa and we came down in this helicopter, and it was funny because I experienced the heat. I saw some similarities of the mountain. It was very desert, and it was a very exclusive group of people. We were all there looking at the sunset, and it was very, very nice until I looked far. And in that, at the distance, I saw this group of people being kept away from me and away from the people and the crew that we were on. And as soon as I get curious and I go over there to find out what's going on, I realized that those people were kind of mistreated. They were not treated the same way as I was at that moment. And it was so realistic that I even woke up feeling the pain of how they were, kind of alienated, kind of like, you guys don't belong here. And in my discovering that dream, obviously me curious, I want to know why. And I go and I felt like it was a tribe of people. And as I find out that those people were mistreated, I started seeing kids, I started seeing older people, and obviously the reason that I feel that I felt it was Africa because there were darker skin, and it was like a tribe. And I get closer to them and I want to kind of approach them. And I know there was kind of like a language difference, barrier there. And I go to a guard, and the guard is telling me, no, they're not allowed here. And I'm like, but why are they treating them like that? And the dream goes on, but I'm not here to bore you just to the dream, but the connection and the realization I had with that dream. And it made me realize many things of my childhood. As you guys know, and if you guys don't know, I would like to share. You guys know my story. I came in a raft when I was 10 years old, and I endured and many struggles in that sense of surviving in the water, because that dream made me realize, why was I put in this earth? What is the purpose of Gia in this earth? And it took me back to my childhood that I even asked God, there's definitely has to be a purpose in my life for me to endure so many challenges and struggle. I don't like compare it with everybody, because I do believe that we all have different stories and we have to share with those people around us. It's very, very important. You never know. And sometimes you think, oh, my story is so basic, or I think other people have suffered more than I have. And I think when you share your story, people connect to you because it shows a side of you that sometimes they never expected that you endure. I want to go even farther. That's where my connection with my dream last night was. And it's sensitive to me because it has to do when I was 5 to 6 years old. I've spoken to you guys that I was brought up into a Christian household, but I have not explained to you guys that there's a background to that. My parents were not pastor back then. My father, the light of my eyes, I love my daddy. I think every girl loves their daddies in some way or form. Even though I'm 39 years old right now and my dad just turned 60, like he still calls me and I get like giggly. I still think that sometimes my dad is a superhero. But at that time, that superhero of mine was dropped from grace. And I want to share this to you guys because as I love my daddy to death, and it's not that I love my dad more than mommy. It's we understand that us girls have that thing with daddy. When I was 5 years old, my father loved me to death, but he was very abusive with my mom. My mom, at a very young age, she suffered abuse, sexually abuse and all that. And she saw my dad as his hero, and she married him, and this is the man of my life. And my dad started in a career that really gave him a lot of success, a lot of money, a lot of, excess in life, right? I remember we had 2 cars, 2-story house, and we were living a life back in Cuba, talking about 80s, 90s. My mom was not happy because my dad was cheating on my mom a lot, as you guys know. They were both young, but my mom was suffering that very deeply. I used to see my mom cry in every corner because I guess the men of the life that she married didn't turn out to be like that. Obviously, my parents didn't know God at that time. They were all going through motions of life, and 2 individuals that suffer different losses in their life, and they just thought they were the best thing out there. And obviously, those things catch up to you. One day I experienced my dad hitting my mom with a machete. And to me, he did not use the sharp part. He just used the other part. And that impacted my life in a sense that I remember to today's day screaming at him and getting in the middle of that fight. I put myself in the middle of that machete and my mom, because I knew at a young age that even though my father was my everything, I needed to protect my mom. And immediately he kind of like had a moment like, what am I doing? And I remember he was so upset, and he got me in his motorcycle, his bike at that moment. He didn't notice. I'm telling you guys this story because I was 5 years old when this happened, almost turning 6. But I remember vividly all the things that I was wearing, everything. As a 5-year-old, I was on my panties at home. In Cuba, we're like that. I was not dressed completely. And my dad didn't notice that he was taking me all around town in my underwear, escaping from what I'm sure he felt. So many feelings. And me right there then, I was seeing the people, but driving by, and I was so ashamed because I understood that I was not in my best way of dress, and I'm like exposed to all this atmosphere. And he took me to my aunt's house. And from there, my dad really came down from grace for me. And I remember I started having a relationship with God at that young age. I knew that I have 2 people that I love the most, and something and miracle had to happen. And that's where my first miracle started happening. Started praying for my mom and my dad, because grandma used to go to church here and there. And I guess they were going through their issues. So my mom and my father had an arrangement to leave me in my grandma's house that weekend. From there on, so they would take me to church and try to, I guess, save Gia. Didn't know, nevertheless, that Gia was trying to find, salvation to that broken family. To make the story long, short, because we can be here for long, long hours. My dad ended up in jail, and my mom put a divorce on him. But in jail, my dad had an encounter with God. And from like how the song says, from grave to garden, my parents' marriage got restored, and our family got restored. And that's the reason why I believe in God, because I experienced it at a very young age. So having all that, all that emotion that I'm telling you guys, all those feelings that I'm still so vividly in my mind and in my memory, it made me realize, having that dream last night, what is my purpose? I started relieving things in my life that I started questioning God, why me? Why not many other people that maybe are more qualified than me? Why you did not allow me to perish on that sea that night was meant for all of us to die. I remember those waves being as high as 4 feet high, and our little weak raft couldn't stand because the sea was very, very, very rough, and it was like hitting against us. I remember that eventually I started throwing up until the moment that we got safe. And all those emotion, I live it every moment now and day. There's things that, like, I don't know, you guys like have a perfume and it remind you of something, or eat something and it tastes and remind you of something that you're like, oh, I remember here and there. There's things in my life that remind me of that story, remind me of the salt in that raft, on the water hitting my face, to the point that actually I've talked to our producer. I'm like, you know what, I want to throw ourselves from, we do a skydiving, and I told her the one thing I'm very always being respectful is the sea. Even though I love the beach and I love the sea, I'm very respectful of what it means and what it represents, because we almost lost our life there. Going back to that story of my parents' relationship being restored, my father being that abusive father that I couldn't stand what he was doing to the person that brought me to this world, what was wrong with him, and I couldn't understand at a young age. All those moments brought me last night to that relaxation of what is the purpose, and not what is my purpose, is what it is to live in your purpose. And if you see finding your purpose, it's actually the meaning is living a life with an intention, living a life that whatever I do and whoever I speak with, I intentionally do this. I do it with an intention of making somebody happy. I do it with an intention of maybe hurting somebody, but living a life with a purpose is living a life with the right intention. It says the case study that living a life with a purpose, the mindset and what creates in your mind, this case study does that it perform the person like an athlete. Whatever the maximum potential that individual have, living your life with a purpose exceeds your expectation and your human capacity. So if you run faster. If you execute firmer. And those are the things in life that when I go back to my childhood and this dream, I tend, which is superhuman, guys, I tend to realize, what was I created for? What was Gia went through all those struggles of an abusive father, from God restoring that marriage, from losing it all, because obviously when my dad had all that money, he was doing by robbing the government, to be quite honest, back in Cuba. So when he comes to God, he needs to finish everything and all the things that were, making his marriage not work. So that's when we start experiencing the need. And that's when we start experiencing really the communism, harsh, that there were people had money in the city, but they couldn't buy. That was 1993, 1994. They couldn't purchase their everyday need. And that's when my father said, listen, I'd rather die in a raft than telling a government how to live my life and living. And that's when my purpose started and his actions start impacting my life. That's why I do, and I've always preached about second chances. That does not matter how you started, but it's rather how you finished. That even my father did not started well, what he has created today with his ministry with me, that even though at that moment, my small mentality in being a child, it did impacted me, that all that got restored. And that is having a life with a purpose, that God can create everything new, that no matter how bad your day is, it's meant for something. Our challenges in life are meant to take us to another level. So how do we know that purpose? And a lot of time, there's always being sign in our life. There's always being all of our challenges in life. Let us know that story of what's preparing you for that next level. So wanted to share you guys that dream, because it helped me realize that what I'm doing right now, I'm in the right path of my life in my career, which is to inspire other, to make somebody's day better, to even give a little glimpse of hope for those that think that they've done something wrong or that life is being so hard on you or anything, to give hope of the experiences that I've experienced and acquired, of a marriage that was destroyed from my parents being abusive at that moment to be restored, where they are pastors and they have impacted me and my brother, that I can impact now my husband, my children, and my whole entire team. And hopefully you guys. And that's what I wanted it to share with you guys. My story and that dream, that I got to a point that I was like, wow, this dream made me realize everything that I've been prepared in my life, that not everything has been pretty. Yes, it's been challenging. Yes, it's being hurtful. Yes, it has taken me to other level, but also other level of greatness and excellence. So my advice to you is, if you still feel that you don't know what your purpose is, that you still don't know which way you need to maybe head or go, because a lot of time we have to go back to our past. And sometimes, let me tell you, it is hurtful to go to our past, to emotions and things that have marked us. But it's very imperative for our healing. It's very imperative to face them, but with a face of forgiveness and a face of new opportunities. And a lot of time that have helped me is the people around me. If you don't know what your purpose is, let's start by impacting and giving love to those around us. A lot of time we get so caught up in everyday hustle. Yes, so-and-so did this or so-and-so that, because we're human. And a lot of people do things that can hurt us and be interpreted into other things. But simple example, we're in traffic. You want to turn to that left, and there's this guy there. You put a signal, and you put a signal, and you're like, he's seeing me, but he's not allowing me to go in there. And you automatically judge this person when you say, that person looked at me and he ignored me, and I'm gonna push. And you're all agitated. Remember, I got an accent, so what? You're all agitated, you bumping that person. Sometimes you even want to take that middle finger out, forget that you're kind and everything else. And that person, probably that gentleman, probably had a horrible fight with his wife. Probably he has, I don't know, a divorce. Maybe that person had such a heartbreak. And he's not even looking at you, but you swear that he's looking at you. And a lot of time we tend not to get in that other person perspective. And he probably just ignore you because they have a lot in their mind. A lot of time we think that we're looking at somebody, and we really are not looking into somebody. We are in our own mind, in our own trouble, in our own everyday hustle. And the first thing that we do is judge and hurt back. Oh, I'm going to throw my car to him. He doesn't know that I have a G-Wagon. Watch. I'm going to put it on him. And then what he's going to say? Oh, you're going to get the insurance company. And what you're going to do? Oh, you're going to have to pay. You see where I'm going through this? And we forget what that human and that individual is experiencing. Rather than say, bring down your window. Can I go? And even if he said no, then you smile at that person and say, God bless, have a nice day. You see what a different approach? That did not bother you. You did not get worked up, and you get that person a chance. If we all treat people how we would like to be treated, this world will be a whole different place. But the thing is that our ego and our human nature get in the middle of it. Perfect example, what I went through as a little kid. Imagine if I would never had that forgiveness. Oh yeah, of my father. Our relationship probably wouldn't be where it is now. Which, by the way, side note, I love my daddy. He's the best thing ever, and he loved me unconditionally. His relationship with my mom is very beautiful, and they're a great example for me and my husband. They've been married actually 40 years. So 40 years this year. But those things created who I am and created my brother in the sense that we know what a marriage should look like. It was not perfect, but they give each other a chance. So what I'm going with this is, even if we do not recognize our purpose, we believe me, I know there is sign. It's just when we get worked up with life, those signs get ignored. So start with giving love without judging. And that's going to create emotion, guys. It's going to create emotion of life rather than destroying in death. And other things are going to come to you. Because believe me, the one that created you have allowed everything that have happened in your life to take you to where you are right now and what's coming to your future. So living a life in purpose help you to go to different level. It's like a shot. Like those performer or athlete that they perform at their highest level. And that's what I would love, and I hope I've done a good job to transmit that to you guys of let's quit putting excuses out there, and rather than being intentional with our purpose, with our life, and those around us. Let's love more, let's hug more, and let's forgive more. And that's it for me today, my amazing people. I know I spoke a lot, but I wanted to share with you guys that moment, epiphany that I had in my life with you guys, and how important it is for that next level of yourself to be better and have a purpose and live within your purpose. Have an amazing day. See you the next time.